my dear friends, and welcome back to another video. Today is my birthday, and all of the reveals that we got at Star Wars Celebration were an amazing early present, and this morning we had the Bad Batch panel. They revealed the third season is coming in 2024, but it's going to be the last. Based on the season 2 finale alone, it did seem like more tragedy is coming, but I also think we're gonna see a transition after season 3 of Omega from animation to live action, either in the Andor show or further down the timeline in the Mandoverse, maybe in the Book of Boba Fett season 2 or Mando season 4, unless something bad happens to her. An exclusive trailer was shown for the third season at Star Wars Celebration, and it was insane. There's a lot of Mount Tantis. Omega is trying to defect Crosshair and get him out of there. We see some Pikes, some adventures with Wrecker and Hunter, and also Palpatine visits Tantis and Dr. Hemlock. We also got a Vision season 2 poster and trailer. In other Star Wars news, we had some more reveals for the upcoming movies by Kathleen Kennedy. She spoke about what to expect, about the script, and also some features of Sharmino Bay-Chenoy's film. Let's dive straight into this. So the first big announcement is that Star Wars is reintroducing its iconic crawl, the crawl at the start of the movies. We didn't get it for Solo or Rogue One, but we did get it for all of the saga films. But Kathleen Kennedy says she wants to differentiate between the movies and the TV shows. In order to do that, she says, she wants to bring back the crawl, and in all but name, the next film is going to be episode 10, with Rey returning, with the crawl, 15 years after the rise of Skywalker. This really is going to be episode 10 in 2025. Previously, the yellow floating in space opening text crawl was only used for the 9 Skywalker films. It was not used on the other spin-offs. When asked if they'd be returning for the Rey film, she says, absolutely, the crawl is coming back. And even more interesting is that it's not just for the 2025 film, but for all of them. She says, quote, the crawl is for all upcoming movies. So while the Disney Plus stuff is going to remain crawl-free, and each live-action show is going to have a unique intro, whether they're Skywalker lineage focused or not, they will all have a crawl. At this stage, it's not known if John Williams, who decided he's not going to retire in the end, is going to be involved in the movie, but a lot of fans really hope so. John Williams' music is the heart and soul of this franchise. Kennedy goes on to say, as we move into the future space, this story is about 15 years outside of the rise of Skywalker. Obviously, we realize post-war, post-First Order, there is a rise of a new Jedi Order. We left episode 9 with Rey making a commitment to Luke that she would rebuild the Order, something he did post-Return of the Jedi, but this is different, and so here we are, we're ready to do that. And she says it took a lot of discussion because obviously we've been developing stories in a different space, and television's been a big focus for our attention right now, but there's still so much interest in what takes place after the rise of Skywalker, so we're excited to be doing that. And then Kathleen Kennedy addresses if some of Rey's friends are going to appear, Poe, Rose, Finn, who many fans want to see become a Jedi. Kathleen Kennedy laughs, it's entirely possible to see some people come back. So are we going to see Oscar Isaac? Are we going to see John Boyega? They've really changed their tune. While originally after the rise of Skywalker they were like, no, I'm not returning to the franchise, over the last few months there's been a change in tone. Those actors kind of suggested if the price is right and the story is good, they would always be open to returning. And let's be honest, if Rey's returning for the next film, there's a very good chance some familiar faces are also going to cameo. And there's one character from the sequels that many fans want to see again, Kylo Ren / Ben Solo. Now obviously he died in the Rise of Skywalker, but there does seem to be a few rumors suggesting they're going to find a way to revive him. Whether that's a Force ghost, a Force spirit, a voice, some kind of manifestation. Many fans took to Twitter and Reddit to share their desire to see Driver's Kylo Ren return to the galaxy far, far away. In Sharmino Bay-Chenoy's film, the character famously perished at the end of The Rise of Skywalker following the completion of a redemption arc that culminated in a controversial kiss shared with Daisy Ridley's Rey. That said, they could find a way to work in the character as a ghost or in flashbacks, given that Rey and Kylo are a Force dyad, and I know a lot of fans roll their eyes at that. But speaking of the 2025 movie, Kathleen Kennedy also reveals the script is not done, and there's a writer's strike coming up, so that might signal some pretty bad news for the film. Stephen Knight took over writing duties after Damon Lindelof walked away from Lucasfilm, but now Kathy says the film script is still 6 weeks off from being done. And it should be said, many decisions on this film are not set in stone. They can announce whatever they want at Star Wars Celebration, and yes, some of it's been very exciting. As we know from the past, anything can be changed last minute. There can be cancellations, new writers involved. Kathy Kennedy even admits Daisy Ridley was only contacted about this film relatively recently. As far as we know, it's not something that was a long time in the making. Let's wait and see what happens. It is worth noting she acknowledges, quote, "It's such an evolution of conversations that we have all the time, and we knew coming off episode 9 that we needed to take that further. We just didn't know how far out. We didn't know exactly what the story might be, but now we have a much better idea." I've got to say, I think 15 years after the rise of Skywalker is a good time to explore. You're far away enough from the First Order, you can explore some brand new villains, new concepts, new challenges for Rey, seeing how far she's come in those years, and with a bit of luck, Luke Skywalker's going to be involved too. Mark Hamill as Luke's Force Ghost. As someone who didn't really like the rise of Skywalker too much, I've got to say this is a fresh start. This is a new opportunity to give us a very solid Rey story, one that's going to make fans fall in love with the character again, or fall in love with her for the first time. Now, staying on the subject of Star Wars movies, we also got a very surprising statement on the position of Kevin Feige's supposed Star Wars movie. Kathleen Kennedy basically said there was nothing there. Speaking with IGN, she says, Kevin Feige's project was something announced in the press, or I suppose, the fandom, but there was nothing. Nothing ever got developed, we never discussed any ideas. As everyone knows, Kevin is a huge Star Wars fan. If he did come up with something, I'd be all ears, but that never really happened. So it's not an abandoned project, it just never really happened. So uncharacteristically, she is very firm and very definitive about this. But a lot of fans did catch on to the fact that it was not invented by the press or fans. Michael Waldron stated in 2022 he was working with Kevin on a film, on a Star Wars movie for Lucasfilm. He said he already began penning it and he was writing away successfully, so maybe some parties got their wires crossed or someone is not being entirely truthful about the nature of that project, but she does say for now it's not happening. Now on Sunday, we also got villains of the sequel trilogy panel. That's when Ian McDiarmid, Andy Serkis, and Gwendolyn Christie spoke about their Star Wars experiences. Palpatine, Snoke, and I guess Kino Loy, but that's not sequel stuff, and Captain Phasma. Some big takeaways is that Ian McDiarmid says that Snoke, to some extent, is Palpatine's son, their father and son, even though Snoke is a Strandcast. As Palpatine says to Kylo Ren in The Rise of Skywalker, I made Snoke, but to some extent, Snoke was struggling with Palpatine's essence, who was pulling the strings. Both Gwendolyn and Andy were disappointed with their character treatments in The Last Jedi. So much so, Andy says he was depressed when he read Rian Johnson's script. He was very unhappy with Snoke's death, and both he and Gwendolyn want redemption and revival for their characters. They don't seem like the biggest fans of Episode 8. Ian McDiarmid gave a lot of credit to George Lucas for some of those original stories, and for creating such a diabolical, pure evil, malicious villain. And did you know, he was responsible for some of the changes to Return of the Jedi, to the way the Emperor spoke, and also between 1999 and 2005, he influenced a lot of creative decisions on the prequel trilogy. But with that said, my dear friends, share your thoughts on everything we spoke about in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one. May the Force be with you always.